All right, you guys, I hope you enjoyed your crash courses in the Reformation and the effects of the Reformation. We are going to pick up right where you left off there at the section of your sheet. Okay, this is not working as well as I wanted to. I'm just going to trust that you can find this on your paper where it says more on the music of the Reformation. I'm going to read this and add a little bit of commentary to it. And then below there on your Google form, you're going to see that there's all the things where it says listen to this, listen to that. It is my expectation that you're going to listen to it after I am done reading these things to you. So here goes. How did church music change as a result of the Reformation? Here are three big changes. Number one, music was now written in the vernacular. That means the language of the people who go to that church. Okay? That may seem like a no-brainer to you. Of course, music is written in the language that the people speak. Not so much, though. Remember that back in the Middle Ages, it was all Latin, and the priests and all those people did not care if the people could understand it or not. Number two, the congregation was encouraged to sing, not just listen to professional choirs. And third, the words of the music needed to be clearly heard so that they could be expressed in worship. I think those are three awesome changes, and they really made a difference. So Martin Luther, who we talked about extensively just a little bit ago, the Lutheran chorale was a main musical genre in the Lutheran churches. So his main contribution is a hymn called Ein feste Burg, which is the song A Mighty Fortress is Our God. And I feel like you probably have heard of that. And if you haven't and you listen to it, you're probably going to say, oh yeah, that's familiar. It is in German because Luther wanted the worship service to be in the vernacular, which is the language of the people, not in Latin as the Catholic services were. Luther wanted the people to engage in worship, so it needed to be in their own language. Now, the form of the Lutheran chorale is monophonic, which means that it's one voice or group singing in unison. After these monophonic chorales were written, they began to be arranged in homophonic versions, such as by Caspar Othmeyer. Homophony is a melody line with others singing in harmony with it. And that's what we're used to seeing in like a church hymnal. Do you have hymn books in your church? I know a lot of churches don't, and they just have maybe words on a screen or on a paper. But if you go to a little bit more traditional church, you will see that there are songbooks. And this homophony, that is the way that they were written, and it started during this time frame. Even though the chorales were now more complicated, you could still pick out the melody, and the melody was always available for the congregation to sing along with a professional choir in the church service if there happened to be one. So again, this feeling that it was important for the people to be involved. It was important for the people to really feel connected to the worship. Can you see that there's a big difference in this as opposed to the Middle Ages where it was like, well, this worship isn't really for you anyway. You just better show up and we'll take care of doing the rest of it in Latin and you won't really know what's going on. You can see a big change. Okay, later, polyphonic settings of chorales began to be written. These were a bit more complicated. If you remember, the madrigals we heard in the last lesson were polyphonic, and those were a little bit hard to keep track of. Sometimes different words are sung by different voice parts at the same time. Johann Walter collaborated with Luther and published a volume of 38 German chorale settings with 5 Latin motets in 1524. Another collection followed in 1544 that included 123 polyphonic chorale arrangements and motets. So that is a ton of music. And thinking about all the stuff he did in his lifetime that you learned about a little bit earlier, this was a busy guy making a big difference. All right, we're on to the last page now. John Calvin. This is a name that maybe will ring a bell for some of you, especially if you attend a CRC or a Reformed church, or if you have anything to do with Calvin College, which is pretty big around West Michigan. John Calvin was from Switzerland, which was both a German and French-speaking country. He also led that same kind of reformation in the church like Martin Luther did with those changes to the church that we talked about. Now, this is a big difference from Martin Luther, though. the major genre of his church was psalmody, which is the singing of psalms, the 150 psalms from the Old Testament of the Bible. And this is pretty restrictive. This was the only singing that was allowed in the Calvinist tradition. It had to be monophonic, no harmony at all, and in the vernacular, which is the language of the people, with a very simple melody and no instruments, which allowed the congregation to focus on the words. Now that might seem like a lot of rules, and you might be thinking, aren't all these changes in place so that there aren't all these pointless rules? This seems like it's going back to the old way. That was not the thought process at all, though. It really was, if we make this music too complicated, if we add too much to it, if we put too much extra in it, it's going to distract from the true meaning of the words. It's going to distract people from the real meaning of the songs. And really, at its core, these were meant to really help people to worship and help people to focus on the words straight from the Bible. So people were not writing their own words to go in the songs. They came straight out of the Bible because of that sola scriptura, that scripture focus that you heard about in the earlier videos. The very first French Psalter, which is a book of psalm music, was published in 1562. Some of the main collectors and composers included in it were Clement Marot, Theodore de Bèze, and Louis Bourgeois. Other composers of psalmody were Claude Gaudimal, Claude Lejeune, and Jan Pieterszoon Sweelinck. He's one of my favorites. I'm not even kidding. He's awesome. I'll find you some Sweelinck to listen to. It's very good. It's very jaunty. The Psalter was brought to the United States by pilgrims in 1620. Hey, it was a combination of English and the French-Dutch psalm settings. So at this point, you're going to see just a listing of the different YouTube videos of the different pieces of music that were listed there. It is my expectation that if you have time at the end of class today that you are going to be listening to those things. Hey, thank you for sticking with this. I know today's content was hard, and I know that it was a little bit thick. And once again, if you ever have any questions about any of it, or you don't understand words, you don't understand concepts, please contact me so that I can assist you with it and help you to understand. Otherwise, have a super good day.